Hello everyone and welcome to Uncharted Parenting, a podcast brought to you by Encounter Youth. Parenting is one wild adventure. It's full of twists, turns and plenty of uncharted territory. But don't worry, you're not navigating it alone. We're here with you. And each episode here on the pod, we dive into some real conversations, expert insights from some amazing professionals from various fields, and honest stories to help you find your way in this parenting journey. I'm your host, Louis, the Education and Parent Coordinator at Encounter Youth. Before joining the team here, I enjoyed 9 years serving as a police officer in the South Australian Police, but most importantly, I'm the proud dad of 2 boys. Welcome to Uncharted Parenting because, let's be honest, no one really has a map for this journey. Let's dive in. Thank you so much for joining me, Kristin. It's always such a blessing to have parents come in and to speak to and to chat to about all things parenting. So we're really excited to have you on the podcast. And before I go any further, Kristin, for those that are listening, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I am a mum of a child with a disability.
Yeah.
We live in a regional area in the mid-north of South Australia.
Yeah.
And
what do you do for yourself, Kristin, when you're out and about on a week during the week? What do you do for yourself?
Well, I work for myself.
Yeah.
I'm self-employed, so I work from home. We live on a farm, so my husband is a farmer, and I also help out with some things, not much on the farm. So,
I imagine that's pretty stressful as well. Obviously, being a mum is stressful in itself, but living on a farm and then you've got your own employment as well, being self-employed, it's pretty quite a lot.
Yeah, super busy.
Yeah. Is it a big farm?
Yeah, and my husband basically works on his own. He's got some help, but yeah, pretty much does it on his own. So
it's been probably a tough couple of years, maybe tough 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months definitely.
Yeah. And so you're the mum of 2 children?
No, 3.
3.
I've got 3 children.
Yeah.
Yep.
Beautiful. And sons, daughters?
So I've got an 18-year-old son.
Yep.
A 16-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old daughter.
Beautiful. Wow. So yeah, big range in ages.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, no, thank you for telling us a little bit about yourself. But what I really wanted to speak to you about today, Kristin, is we understand that your experience as a parent is probably quite different to a lot of parents' experiences with approaching topics like alcohol and other drugs and parties and all those things that teenagers often go and experiment with and explore. But what I really want to talk to you about first is, can you just explain to us your son? I know your son has a specific condition. I think 22q, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So
can you explain that a little bit more to us?
So he has a syndrome called 22q, which is where part of his 22nd chromosome is missing.
Yeah.
It can vary definitely between children or adults that have 22q. So Charlie specifically, so he was born with a heart condition, which is how we got the diagnosis. So he's got tetralogy of Fallot, which was repaired at 9 months old. So then we had the diagnosis of the 22q. But also while we were in Melbourne, he was having heart surgery, or before he had heart surgery, they actually did a brain scan, which found that he had part of his brain hadn't formed properly. So that's called polymicrogyria. So, which has caused cerebral palsy down his left side. So, and he's got global development delay, and he's also got scoliosis. They're probably his big things.
Right.
And also he's got a chronic lung condition as well. So
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
A lot going on for him.
Yeah, but if you saw him, he doesn't look like he's got all of those things. So, to most people, he looks reasonably normal. So, yeah.
I think that's, it's, how did that make you feel, Kristin, when you sort of got that diagnosis? 9 months is pretty young to be having open heart surgery. And
yeah, it was a lot. And we got a lot quite, early on. It just seemed like it was a diagnosis after diagnosis after diagnosis. Probably his first 12 months was really stressful.
Yeah.
It was a lot. It was a lot for us. I think we were quite lucky. He was our first child, so we didn't have other children that we had to worry about as well. But when we went to Melbourne, to have the heart surgery, when you're sent over there, you're sent being told that you might be there for 7 to 10 days, and we were there for 5 weeks. So while he was in surgery, he had complete heart block, which resulted in him having a pacemaker as well. So it was a lot. And to be over there, with no family, no friends over there, we were lucky that both our parents, my husband and my mum, both came over and spent some time over there. But it was a lot. It was to
take on by yourself.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
And being the dad of 2 boys myself, like, I can't really, I'm so lucky that nothing like that has happened to either of my boys, and I can't even imagine how, that difficult that would be for you and your husband. First child, first experience of that.
Yep.
It's a lot. So
it is.
I take my hat off to you. It's crazy. So,
but having said that, I wouldn't change it. It's been good for us. We've learnt to overcome it. We have never let it stop him from doing anything. We've always treated him quite normally. We've never made any modifications at home, haven't made modifications at school, physically for him.
Yeah.
We've just let him do everything, so, he rides a motorbike,
fun boy, eh? Yeah.
We never thought he'd ride a bike, but, he's, rides motorbikes. He, does everything. We don't stop him. So we've treated him as normal as we possibly can.
Yeah. So there's a big gap there between, so he's now 18.
Yes.
And this all happened in his first 12 months of life.
Yep.
How has that sort of played out for you as a family over these past 18 or so years? Has it been difficult to manage? Has there been periods of time where everything's been good, or there's been relapses, or?
So he's had stuff on and off. So, things haven't always come up early. So the scoliosis was a late diagnosis.
Yeah.
I noticed a lump in his back, and I instantly thought the worst. I went to different thoughts.
Yeah.
But it turned out to be scoliosis, and the way that his muscles had formed around that. So that's a late diagnosis. Also, his lung condition has come from that. So the way that his body is shaped actually doesn't allow his lungs to, expand. So those things came later. So it's been an ongoing thing with him. It's, it has been ongoing. But as far as our family goes, I think you just do it. You go into autopilot. It's part of the reason I'm self-employed, because I can work around him and his appointments. Yeah. My daughter, like the 16-year-old, she's had to grow up quite quickly. She's definitely a more compassionate person, having grown up with that. So I think as a family, we've just you just do it.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice, so you've just got to do it. Obviously, there's bad times. You have your your down times of, why, but they don't last long.
It's such a natural thing, though, Kristin, I think, to ask yourself, why me or why us, or, but I do want to say you're doing an amazing job. And, there are lots of parents out there doing amazing jobs, but for specifically those parents that are dealing with, children that have not only physical disabilities, but mental disabilities, it's a lot. So
and look, they don't last long. We appreciate everything as well. So even though you have those moments, it's pretty good. We've had up and down with school as well. He's not academic, so it's been a struggle through school, but there's always been good and bad. I think probably his best year was year 12.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate that he got to the last year and that was his best year, but he finished school. Yeah.
But, it can be such a stressful year for you.
Yeah.
So it's great that he enjoyed it.
Yeah.
In a way, and it was his best year. So.
Yeah. No, he he was there for social. He didn't.
Mates are there.
Yeah.
It probably also helps that you said your husband is on the farm.
Yes.
Have you found that helpful with?
Yeah, because he's home as well. So yeah, it is helpful. Yeah. I do a lot of the travelling. I've done pretty much all of his appointments to Adelaide and back. But my husband's always home to pick up the kids or drop off the other two to school, those sorts of things. So,
and does he like being around animals? And
we don't have animals, but we're grain. He does enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's probably he actually likes the animals more than grain. So we do have neighbours that he helps, and I think it's more about riding his motorbike than anything else. But so he gets to we lost him one afternoon. We all sat down for dinner, and I thought he was in his room, so I went, where's Charlie? And so we went looking for him, and he wasn't in his room. And we're like, oh, it's, on dusk, like, where is Charlie? And anyway, we're outside, and I'm like, if he's fallen off his motorbike and we don't even know where he's gone. Anyway, then our neighbour and him rode into our driveway. Yeah. And so the neighbour had driven past with a flock of sheep, and he just followed and helped out. So,
It's nice to have those regional communities, like I know you said you're up in the mid-north, and it's such a community-based up there. And that sort of gets lost a little bit in today's day and age, doesn't it? But it is so great that, neighbours, he can just jump on his motorbike.
Yeah, and off he went. And they were quite happy just to take him. And I mean,
I guess sort of what I want to ask you as well, Chris, is as Charlie was getting older, we know that teenagers, adolescents, they get curious about things. They naturally are going to experiment with things, as I did when I was growing up as well. Yep. How did you and your husband? How did you approach that with him? Because obviously it's quite different probably a little bit different for, not only for you and your husband, but for Charlie as well.
So my husband and I we're pretty open and always have been with our children.
Yeah.
We had a situation at home which involved drugs, and so from a young age we have spoken to the kids about those things. So we've always been really open right from not a young age, but once they could understand, we've been quite open with them. We also haven't made it a taboo as such. Like it is, but I haven't forced that, because I felt like when I was at school myself, those children that were really pressured, you cannot do, it was almost something they went out and did. I've told them the things that can go wrong. With Charlie, separate to that, we obviously have had his lung diagnosis recently. So we've made it really clear to him that things like vaping and smoking are just a no-go for him. We've also explained that, drugs would probably kill him if he took them. So he's really aware. The benefit that we have with Charlie is even now he will ask us permission to do things. So he's probably a little bit different than your normal adolescent where, they'll just go and do it. They're not going to tell their parents, where he will ask us, and he'll tell us everything. He'll tell us that someone offered him a vape, and, he'll tell us. So there's no secrets with him, which I find really good. There's nothing that he hides from us, which is very different to most teenagers. So it's probably a very different experience as far as that goes. But yeah, I've been very open with my children about it. Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned a few things just then about typically taboo topics that adolescents don't want to speak about with their parents. Yeah, it's cringeworthy, isn't it? Speaking to mum and dad about alcohol, drugs, and all those sort. You mentioned vaping just then as well, but I think it's also a massive encouragement to you and your husband as well, that the fact that he is so comfortable just coming to you and speaking about those things.
Oh, absolutely. He tells us everything.
Mate, come on, just maybe don't tell us that part, but mate, it's so great. Yeah.
From my point of view, I've always wanted to be an open parent anyway. So I'm very open. I've told them, if they're with someone and they're in trouble, I want them to ring me. I don't want them to be leaving it to nothing. Not going to a parent or not going to an adult of some description and telling them that something is wrong. So I want them to feel comfortable to come to me. I don't care if it's them that is in trouble or a friend. I've always said to them, ring me. I don't care. If you're in Adelaide, I will get someone to you and then I will get to you. But, I've always been encouraging of them to come to me with anything.
That's great. And I think we often, as part of our education program here at Encounter Youth, we often find that young people are pretty hesitant to either call for help, whether that's from a parent or whether that's from ambulance if it's needed, or
definitely,
because there's that added thing of, I'm going to get in trouble with Dad, or I'm going to get in trouble with the police are going to rock up and I'm going to get in trouble with the police. But really what we have at heart, isn't it, is their welfare and their...
Absolutely. And we can deal with whatever the issue is after, it's their safety. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, so that's correct. And Kristin, so obviously Charlie was in Year 12 last year.
Yes.
And so did he approach you about wanting to go to Schoolies at all?
Yes. So obviously it comes up at school, and he was obviously amongst the conversations, came home and he said, I want to go to Schoolies. And my initial thought was, absolutely not. You are not going to Schoolies. I actually didn't attend Schoolies myself, so I have no idea. I only had what I'd heard, obviously from outside sources. It's not always been positive, what we hear.
But just on that,
yes.
What had you heard, Kristin, about it?
Oh, I think, it wasn't anything specific, just that it was probably not somewhere I'd send my son who's got a disability.
Yeah.
He's not able to make decisions, not necessarily good decisions. There's lots of things. I mean...
Was that something from media related? Or
media.
Or was it other parents as well? Or?
Both, media and parents. So from the previous year, things happening inside the inside the festival. Yeah. So I was hesitant, just because I know that if something did, if he had a drink spike to it, not that you could necessarily do that, but if something happened to him. It could be detrimental. So my initial thoughts were absolutely no way. But he didn't give up.
How did that play out?
So Charlie, with his syndrome, he gets fixated on stuff. So he's like a toddler, with a lollipop. I want. So he continuously, there's no stopping. So he kept asking me, and I spoke to other family members and said, their initial thoughts were absolutely not. But then we were like, well, we can't stop him. We've never stopped him from doing anything else. And I want him to be able to do things with his peers. So then we decided, we'll do it. But the only way I would let him go was if I went too. So obviously I had no intentions of going to the festival itself, but I thought if I go, I can stay, he can stay with me, and then, he can do what he can with his peers. So, yeah.
So how did that play out when, so obviously he hasn't relented and you said, okay, no worries, yes, you can go, but these are the stipulations. What was your, I guess, first of all, I want to talk about what was your experience when you were down there?
Okay, so, initially, so I'll go back a step. So I know, or I was informed by other students that if Charlie wasn't staying at the caravan parks, he wouldn't be able to have access. So most of the kids stay in the caravan parks, and a lot of what they do is, or a lot of the time is spent there. So I knew that he wasn't going to be staying there, so it was unlikely he would be able to go in there. So I emailed Encounter Youth and just sent through a question about could he get access as, due to his disability. Could he go in there during the day with the kids? So we gained access to the caravan parks with him, so he could go and spend time. So we went along. he gained access, to be able to do that. And then, when we got to Victor, I actually stayed at the Hotel Victor. I didn't actually think that through very well because that is,
Hotel Victor, I think.
Yep. Although I did not sleep until Charlie was home, so that was okay. But
at least you were up anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's true.
So we stayed at the Hotel Victor together, and so initially I dropped him at the caravan park when we arrived in Victor. I did the behind the scenes tour.
Yep.
And then I met him in at the festival to get his tickets and all his bands and bits and pieces. I initially did go in with him, so I was able to go in as a carer into the festival. I spent probably less than 10 minutes in there, and I was like, you can do your thing. So
often do you think?
Yeah, so he was with a group of mates. He went in and I didn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Having said that though, if it was a child that did need them in there, it was great. Like I had access whenever I wanted to or needed to.
Yep.
So basically I left him there, and then at, I don't know, around 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock or something, I got a phone call to say, we're out the front. Can you come and get Charlie? Yeah. So, but, he spent, he didn't come home before, I don't think, 1 o'clock any night. So, he was out with all his mates doing exactly the same thing as they were doing. Yeah. So.
That's great. It's great to hear that your experience was a positive one.
Yep.
Was his experience the same? Was it a positive one?
Yeah. Just going back to that though, I actually found I tried to avoid, everything as much as I could. I tried to stay in the festival, hotel, but walking around, I found, the kids are all in great spirits. They were all talking to me, even though I was a parent there, and I was very conscious of that from even the other kids at the school. I didn't want to be someone who they thought, oh gosh, why is she there? I don't want to do anything because I know that, Kristin's there. But it was actually the opposite. I went for a walk down the street one morning and there was a group of kids from the school and they, came over to me and chatted to me for half an hour. I thought I was going to be an inconvenience, but I was actually the opposite, which was a really good experience from my part. Yeah. So all the kids, great. I personally didn't see anything that would concern me.
Yeah.
As far as a parent goes.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I know, Kristin, you mentioned the behind the scenes story a second ago, and I'll get to that in a sec. But I think often teenagers, adolescents, young people, they get this bad rap in the media, don't they? They get this bad rap that, they're all out getting wasted, making bad decisions. They're all, all doing the wrong things. Mm-hmm. When really, it's great to hear that your experience was actually they're just down there having a good time, and they sought you out and had a good chat with you. Yeah,
and I really was conscious of that because, they go down there, they went down there without their parents. They don't really, they didn't really, I thought they wouldn't really want me there.
Yeah.
But they do get a bad rap, and they were great kids, all of them, The other thing though, going back a step to the way that I, treat my children with everything, I also think from, the kids that do go to school with my son, they also felt comfortable because I was there too.
Yeah.
So they had someone that they could go to if they had any trouble.
An extra layer of security or comfort. Or...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the girls said to me, there was a couple of girls and they walked, back to the caravan park, and I said to them, look, if you're worried, just give me a call. So they actually had me to call on if they needed anything as well. They didn't. But, they knew that I was there. So it may have been a level of, comfort for them as well.
Yeah.
But yeah. So yeah, they do get a bad rap, but I think they,
it's mostly positive, isn't it? And
absolutely.
I think that we had in a previous episode, we've spoken to Encounter Youth CEO Nigel Knowles about all things that are done to make it safe for young people down at Victor Harbour for that weekend. Did you see a lot of green team volunteers around the place?
Oh, everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah.
They are everywhere.
Yeah.
And they, they're so fun. They walk around and, high-fiving the kids and they're, playing games with them and,
Yeah.
it's really good. And there is a strong presence there. Yeah.
Right. And,
everywhere.
did you... we'll touch on the behind-the-scenes tour. So how was that for you? So for those parents that are listening, there is a behind-the-scenes tour available for Year 11 and Year 12 parents. So how was your experience with that? We've spoken to one parent about that already, but I just would be interested about what your experience was with that.
Yeah, so I guess the thing was that we were able to see everything from every angle. There was a lot of things I didn't know.
Yeah.
I think the most impressive for me was the setup for the medical setup.
Yeah.
And obviously that's needed. It is, things do happen. But it was impressive what they actually had there from your really simple all the way through to anything that happens majorly. But which takes that pressure off of the hospitals. Yeah, I just think it was really good. We could see we saw from every angle what the kids see, because most parents or most people wouldn't actually see inside the festival itself. So yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I thought it was good.
And is it something that you'd recommend a parent do if they have the opportunity to do it?
Yeah, particularly if they're worried.
Yeah.
Particularly if they've got any concerns or Yep.
I think as parents, I don't have to worry about this sort of stuff yet, being my kids are a bit younger, but I think as parents just naturally as parents in general, we worry about our kids, don't we? And
absolutely,
we just want the best for them. We want them to be safe, and to have that peace of mind is probably comforting.
Yeah, and to know, that there's so much in place. You've thought of everything. I think my year may have actually been one of the first that you ever had. So, very different. Like I said, I didn't actually complete Year 12, but my sister did, and she told me what it was like back then. And it was, basically an open slather. You just went to Victor and went to the pubs, and, it was
chaos.
Yeah, there was no structure to it at all. Where now there is structure. Obviously everything's very well organised. Even as far as the caravan parks and those sorts of things. So we actually got, to see the caravan parks and how they're set up and how the green team are there to support the kids pretty much 24/7. They're available. So if anything, if anything needs to be done, they're there. Or if the kids just want someone to hang out with, they just go to the green team.
I think I think a few years they've set up PlayStations or Xbox or something, and make pancakes or baking these
food.
I think sometimes as young people they don't necessarily great at planning, so to have that sort of peace of mind that the green team are going to cook pancakes for me in the morning is probably pretty comforting.
Yeah.
Kristin, what I want to talk to you about, we've spoken a lot about your experience as a parent. What about Charlie's experience? How was that for him?
So, so he actually really enjoyed it. So he didn't want to be with me, which I thought he may. I thought he might get tired. I thought he might be exhausted and want that time away. So Charlie's a little bit unique. I know that this year they did the sensory space.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, he wouldn't need that. We did go in and, go in there and some of his mates went in with him. And but he really enjoyed it. He loves music. Music is probably his thing. He has constantly got loud music. So that's really his thing. He got to go on stage with the DJ, which scared him. He got really nervous. But I think he, secretly he really loved it. He didn't get up there, but all his mates lined the front of the the mosh pit.
Where the music bowl is.
So they they had lined it, and so for me that was actually really special too, to see all of his classmates up along the fence, and there was a lot of them. So but Yeah, I think he had a really great time, and and since then, like, I have spoken to a lot of parents. People have asked me about it because they knew that I was there. So a lot of people have asked me, and I've, given, my feedback and honest feedback, and it would be that anyone can go.
Yeah.
And even if you are not outgoing, there's still a place for you to go. You can go and, be just a couple of kids there on their own and just, do their own thing.
Yeah.
I think it's suitable for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's really something that's great to hear, is that it's inclusive of whatever anyone wants to experience down there. So it can be, you can chill out, or you can, if you're saying about Charlie loves his music, so you want to spend time in music box. So it really is great to hear that it is an inclusive place, and it's great also amazing to hear that you'd recommend it. Recommend it to not only to young people, but also recommend the behind the scenes tour as well to parents who maybe are potentially a little bit worried or anxious, and that is a normal feeling to have, I think, about these sorts of topics, these sorts of places, and events. I think it's a normal feeling to have as a parent too.
Oh, absolutely. And I think even if Charlie didn't have a disability, I still would have been anxious. I know, most parents are. It's, it's just a normal way to feel, but honestly, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. It's, and for the number of kids that were down there, they're, really,
Oh, that's great. And Kristin, I just want to thank you so much for your time in coming in here today and speaking with us about your experience as a parent and also your son's experience at Schoolies. Before you go, I do want to take my hat off to you and to your family, your husband, but also your extended family as well.
Yep.
And you are doing an amazing job. And it would be, I can't even imagine, from 12 months old to get that diagnosis and to see how thriving Charlie is now as an 18-year-old.
Yep.
It's a journey.
Yep.
There's been plenty of uncharted territory in between that 12 months old to 18 years old. Yep. But you're doing an amazing job, and it's great to see that he's thriving. And for anyone that's listening that perhaps has experienced something similar to yourself, just know that you are doing an amazing job. You're great, and parents far and wide are doing amazing. And I just wanted to take my hat off to you, Kristin, and your family. So
thank you. I think you just need to do the right thing by your children, and that was the right thing for him. So,
thank you so much, and we'll wish you all the best for the rest of 2025 and beyond. So
thank you.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Uncharted Parenting. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. We really hope you enjoyed this episode. We'd love to hear from all of our listeners, so if you have any questions that you would like us to answer here on the podcast, we want to hear directly from you. Send those questions in to us and we will be answering them right here on the pod. Please send them in to inquiry@encounteryouth.com.au. That's inquiry@encounteryouth.com.au. Remember, wherever you listen to your podcast, give us a follow, subscribe, send us a review, send in those questions by the bucket load, and remember, there is no map for parenting. You enter uncharted waters every single day, but there is a way forward. You're doing an amazing job already, and we're with you on that journey. We have some more amazing episodes coming your way very soon, but until next time, goodbye for now.